Hello, and welcome to the WWIA Podcast. We're honored to have you join us in our mission to bring honor, connection, and healing to America's combat-wounded Purple Heart heroes. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, we welcome you. If you're a returning listener, thanks for coming back. Please be sure to tell others about our podcast and leave us a review if you're enjoying what you're hearing. WWIA Founder and CEO John McDaniel is proud to welcome two outstanding American Patriots to the WWIA Podcast, Mr. Dixon Gunther and Dr. Keith Tidball. They're both avid outdoorsmen and proudly serve as WWIA Advisors. Dixon as our Senior Outdoor Instructor and Advisor, and Keith as our Science Advisor. Dixon Gunther is a retired United States Army colonel, a highly decorated veteran having served our country over an impressive 25-year career. His awards include the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star 2nd Award, Combat Infantryman's Badge 2nd Award, and the coveted Ranger Tab. He's also a musician, outdoorsman, certified NRA rifle and shotgun instructor, and an avid competitive shooter. Dixon is married to his wife Katie, and together they have two sons and a daughter, and currently reside in San Antonio, Texas. Dr. Keith Tidball serves as Assistant Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension for Veterans, Military Families, and Disaster Education, and is a Senior Extension Associate in the Department of Natural Resources. He's a licensed New York State guide, has served in the National Guard since 1990, currently a major in the 10th Brigade of the New York Guard, and is a life member of the American Legion. Keith is married to his wife Moira, and together they have two daughters. Keith and his family reside in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York. Let's join the conversation with John, Dixon, and Keith now.
Hi, my name is John McDaniel. I'm the founder and chief executive officer for the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation, and this is our podcast, Honor, Connect, and Heal. You know, today is a very special day for me personally because I have two of my favorite human beings in the world, other than perhaps my boys, with me in the Airstream. We're at Camp Hackett, and it's the 10th of July. And I've got Dixon Gunther and Keith Tidball with me. We're in the Airstream. We've got heroes out there on the 40 running around. We just had our safety symposium. We're just finishing it up. And I'm going to introduce these guys before we hear from them, because there's a bit of a wind up here so you guys can kind of sense the gravity of the two amazing Americans that are sitting next to me here. So I'm going to start with Dixon. And, Dixon Gunther and I first met back in 1992, and he said it was September when I asked him, and it was at Fort Benning, Georgia, at the Infantry Officer Advanced Course. And, Dixon and I immediately hit it off. He hails from San Antonio now. He's a retired Colonel 06, several tours in combat, highly decorated, great American. Wife is Katie, two boys, Sean and Jack. And, now he's a defense contractor and is doing the military decision-making process stuff at the battalion and brigade level for National Guard. Is it National Guard guys? Yeah. So anyway, and so welcome to the program, Dixon.
Thanks very much for having me. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And then we'll get back to you in a minute because I'm going to start firing stuff at both of you guys. But Keith Tidball, Dr. Keith Tidball from Cornell University. You can probably hear the four-wheelers in the background. I told the guys not to run them, but they're doing it anyway because nobody listens to me. But anyway, so it's Keith Tidball, Dr. Keith Tidball from Cornell University. He's a faculty member and in the Natural Resources Department. And Keith's been following us around the foundation for many, many years. And he's also a super host. He hosts his own events under the foundation's umbrella, under the WWIA umbrella. He's been serving heroes. He's been collecting data on the work that we've been doing. And just here with the foundation just moments ago, as sort of the cherry on top of the safety symposium that we just ran with the heroes, Keith took the time to tell the heroes what the results of the survey are somewhat preliminarily, but we've been doing a survey for about a year and a half to collect some primary data that aims to kind of quantify what we're doing and how we're doing it and what are the results according to those that we're serving the Purple Heart community. He hails from Seneca Falls, upstate New York, the vicinity of the Finger Lakes. He's a major in the New York National Guard. Welcome to the program, Keith.
Thanks, John. It's great to be here in Camp Hackett again with you.
Yeah, so you've both been here to Camp Hackett, and so you guys got up here, what, 2 or 3 days ago, something like that?
Yeah, 3 days ago.
Yeah, and you've been fishing already.
Oh, quite a bit.
Yeah,
every chance we get.
Yeah. So here we're the heroes and I, not all of them, but just there's a handful of them here staying at Camp Hackett, and in town in the vicinity that Phillips, Wisconsin, which is in the Northwoods. That's where Camp Hackett is. There's a little town called Phillips, and you guys are staying in a little B&B or something like that. Yeah, and then and fishing, and now after this, what are you guys doing?
You want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. And just one alibi fire, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Mariel.
Oh, Mariel. Oh, my gosh. Did I screw that up? She's like one of the prettiest little girls I've ever seen. She's not even a little girl anymore. How old is Mariel?
She will be 17 in August.
It's just beautiful. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Anyway, back to answer your question. So we are sturgeon, or as you were, muskie fishing with John Carlson tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
And then going over to link up with Tom Schenk and Chris Whalen on about 2 hours west of here. Yeah. And we're going to fish with Chris, I think, Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. So big adventures happening in the Northwoods.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's Camp Hackett.
It's Camp Hackett. That's what you got to do. It's part of the program. If you came up here to do, like underwater basket weaving, you came to the wrong place. Right?
Sure.
So, but you guys are both we're all okay, so what do you reckon? I'll let you, Keith, you take the first whack at this, and then I'll go off to Dixon. This is all unscripted, so we're just going to kind of make it up as we go along. But I mean, why do you reckon, Keith, that you and I hit it off, and that you're here, you've been, we've known each other for 13 years or something like that. But what do you reckon the connective tissue is there?
Oh, there's a couple of things. Obviously, right off the bat, we're both 11B type people.
Right, that's infantry.
That starts the conversation.
Tracking.
And I saw you for the first time back in September of 2010 with a really cool truck and a logo that seemed to indicate the convergence of most of the important interests that I have: hunting and outdoor recreation and service to your country and so forth. Yep. And then I met you. I took the initiative to walk up and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You and your colleagues here look like my kind of people, especially since we met on a pheasant hunt out on a pheasant preserve." That's right. So those things immediately jumped out, but what happened next, I think, is the real synergy, and that was, I said, "Hey, I'm a scholar. I'm a scientist now, not a leg. I guess I'm always a leg, but
100-pound head for those that are, he's like the smartest guy now."
And you were opening. I mean, you welcomed me with open arms to say, "Yeah, if you're interested in checking out what's going on here, come on." And not soon after that, I was here at Camp Hackett, and Field and Stream was here, and I met all these folks, and I met Dixon for the very first time on that trip.
What do you reckon you two? What do you reckon you two go back like car seats now, Dixon? Why don't you whack at that? Take a whack at that pinata?
Yeah, sure. And as Keith just said, we met April of 2012 on this piece of property.
You and Keith did?
Yes.
During the Field and Stream deal that we had. Hero for a day.
Absolutely. The one prior to the boots going down the road. But and that was the one, if I recall correctly, where we did all the tree planting and so on.
About 100 trees. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some of which are still, they're all out there somewhere in the nursery. Remember the nursery we created? Sure. Have you guys seen that lately? We had to run down there and take a look at that. Actually. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So 10 years ago, we had Field and Stream recognize the foundation, as for their Hero 4-Day program, and we asked the community to pour out and support that. And I don't know how many people showed up, but it was a lot, close to 100 people from the community. There's a lot of people out here in Field and Stream, and they were videoing or creating a short little movie, I guess. And anyway, it was a lot of fun. That's I remember. Of course, I remember both of you being here. And it was a good time. It was a long time ago. But that nursery back there has really taken off. It's pretty cool. So anyway. Yeah, so here's what I want to know about, and for those of you that most of you probably don't know this, but Dixon and I were like I said in the opener, we're in the advanced course together, and then and I'll tell a story, and you can correct me, Dixon, or add your 2 cents in. But as I recall it, year-long course at Fort Benning. This is a course that's designed to teach the captains, the O3s, to prep them for command, and then that's what this is. So this is a year-long course, or was a year-long course to do that. And we were in the same small group together, which meant that we saw each other for about 5 or 6 months every single day, pretty much, and a group of maybe 10 or 12 in our group. And I remember there was, and I'm sorry if there's anybody listening to this, I'm just going to say it because I don't even care, but I would say there was 3 or 4 dudes in our class that I was like, okay, let me find the shooters. 1, 2, 3, and included myself. Maybe there's 4 dudes in there that I thought immediately. I was like, okay, all these other guys, you're in the also ran category, But Doug Chrisman was in that group, who turned out to be a 2-star general. And then so what happened? And that was the S3 for the course. There's a great distinction. So I got stuck with being a student leader, which is leading your peers is like I don't even know how to describe that in a course like that. But I had to get up damn near every morning in the blue bedroom to, how many people do you think were in that course?
If I recall correctly, there was around 200.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
About 200 or so. Yeah, so I had to get up in front of these, captains. They're all, knuckle dragging meat eaters, and go, all right, everybody, give me your attention, humma, and pass out information. And one of the pieces of information I had that I didn't go public with was they told me that, hey, we got like 3 or 4 slots opening up for Alaska. And I was supposed to go to Fort Drum, and I didn't want to go to Fort Drum. I wanted to go to Alaska, and I wanted to be airborne in Alaska. And so I'm like, okay, if there's 3 slots, back in the day, you could swap or change. So I got my stuff changed, and I think I went to you. I remember it was a formation. It was like Mech Week or something, and I pulled you aside, and I'm like, dude, there's a slot for Alaska. And you're like, yeah.
You're real close.
Okay.
So all of the aforementioned is correct. The what happened was on the very first day of Mech Week, and just by way of backing up to that. So when I showed up to the advanced course, I had orders to brag, and the branch guys showed up, and they're like, "Yeah, you've been deleted. You're going to Lewis." And Lewis was my second choice, and I was like, "Okay, Lewis for me."
Fort Lewis, Washington.
Yeah, Saigon. Yeah.
Yeah. Saigon.
So anyway, day 1 of Mech Week, they came out and they had just announced that backside, they had said that everybody that was, they said, we got 1 slot open for Alaska, and you were, I turned around and looked at you because I knew you were going to Alaska, and said, what do you think? And you're like, dude, go for it. We'll be hunting and fishing buddies, you know? And what's interesting is that, so I jumped on it, and everyone that had orders to Lewis got deleted and either retained at Benning or sent to Korea. So, you talk about divine intervention.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that went down.
So we Dixon and I end up spending, it's usually a 3-year tour, right? So I was there for about a year, and then I was, politicking my way to get south of the range, 350 miles south of Fairbanks, so I could command at Fort Rich, or the first of the 501st Airborne, because north of the range there wasn't any airborne other than a division staff, which I wasn't really interested in being on any longer. Thank you very much. So I was successful. I had to have there was an act of Congress literally to do an inter-theater transfer, full PCS within the same year. So that's why everybody was like, you're never going to get down there. And I'm like, well, we'll see about that. And anyway, I didn't make any friends doing it, but I usually don't make a lot of friends anyway.
You reminded me of something, which was the when we were first handful of days that we were in Tom Cleary's small group there. I remember we were having to brief our IPB, Intelligence Preparation of the Battlefield. Yeah. And I used the analogy of tree stand hunting. And when I said that, when I was describing my IPB, both you and Doug were like, "Woo."
Yeah, snap. Right on. Right on. So, yeah, we had this great time. We won't bore you with the details. I'll come back to Alaska because I want to ask you to give me your fondest memory of our time in Alaska, of which there was a lot. We were on the division staff. We were the division tactical command post battle captains. And it's running mates, running down 2 single captains, downrange, either hunting, fishing, or at the Crazy Loon Saloon, or some other, place like that, just causing all kinds of trouble. It was just awesome. You lived in a geodesic dome. I lived in the bush. We drank more Rogue, what was it, Rogue?
Rogue Smoke was the...
Yeah. This great beer I picked up on the way. I think it was in Oregon. I brought a case, and then we got turned on to this beer, and it was like, man, I don't know how much of it we drank, but it was a lot. Anyway, so let me switch back to Dr. Keith Tidball, because I've got I want to say a couple things about you there, Keith. You are a host, okay, and you got your 10-year anniversary coming up. You've got all these wonderful accomplishments. You're a faculty member at one of the most prestigious universities on the planet. It's an Ivy League school, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, you're also a major in the New York Guard, and you've been following the foundation. And not only have you been following the foundation, you've been hosting heroes. So you are on the on the pointy end of the spear in terms of the healing work that we're doing. You just disclosed to the guides. We have the guides up here right now for the safety symposium. You just disclosed to them and to myself the preliminary results of over 200 surveyed combat wounded Purple Heart recipients about our work. And I would love for you to tell the world right now, preliminarily so, you can let the cat out of the bag a little bit, or as much as you want, but I'd like you to tell us, first part is, what's it like to be a host? What's it doing for you, and what's it doing for your community? That's part one. And part two is, what does this data say? Just wave tops on that.
Okay, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about all those things, and they're very interconnected. I remember when you gave me the green light to do some initial research. It was mostly interviewing, and you gave me a hot list of these are the events that you need to go check out, and MOCAN was one of them. And so I went down there and met those great folks down there at MOCAN, and had a great time and did a bunch of survey work. And I also participated in their fundraising banquet at the end.
Yeah. And so did Dixon, by the way. You were on that event too.
Yep,
yeah.
It was. Yeah. And it was an eye-opener. And I decided right then that beyond or parallel to or independent of my research, I wanted to be involved in hosting an event, and I want to do it like MOCAN does it.
Do you remember what you said to me?
Not exactly.
I do. I remember exactly what you said.
What did I say?
You pulled me aside at the banquet, and you get this real serious look on your face, and you go, "Is this the standard?" You looked at me and you go, "Is this the standard?" I mean, and for those, in the infantry anyway, the standards are everything. And the three of us probably have, our standards. We probably have standards for everything we do, from tying our shoes to, how many Cheerios we put in the bowl. But. So you asked me that, is this the standard? And I had to pause for a moment because, at that point, I'd seen, we had lots of missions going on, and I was hesitant to say, yeah, MOCAN's the standard, but I think my answer was something like, this is the 800-pound gorilla. These guys have, if this could be replicated, then even in small part, you'd be doing real good. And you something like that. And I remember you getting a north-south nod, and then off you went.
Yeah, off I went, indeed. I was like, I'm doing this. And, I went back to a great group of friends and community there in Seneca Falls, and our sportsman's club, Cooneytown Sportsman's Club, and my best bro there, Eric Regal. And I said, what do you think? And everybody was so all in. I mean, it was just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And of course, we scaled it because MOCAN's, like you say, it's big.
Yeah.
We scaled it to what would work for our community, and here we are coming up on 10 years. And I have more support than I had last year or the year before that, and it grows every year.
What do you do on your event?
It's called the Finger Lakes Ducks and Bucks. So it's right over the Veterans Day holiday every year. And we host 4, combat wounded veterans, Purple Heart recipients for whitetail deer hunting, as well as waterfowl hunting. And we try to mix that up in such a way that there's a lot of variety and diversity throughout the 4-day or 5-day trip. It's vacillated between a 4 and 5-day outing. Definitely subscribe to, what you created in your alchemy of the recipe, and that 2 days isn't enough, 3 days is barely enough. And if you can do more, then do it. So we do it. And we also try to make sure and embed, I guess, our guests with the community in a couple of different ways throughout that event. They eat quite a few meals at our sportsman's club and get different groups of people filtering in and out that, without making a scene, actually make them feel welcome in that community. And then we gift them at the end with a going away banquet and also a life membership to our sportsman's club. And what's really cool, I think, about our event is how many participants come back independent of the foundation, although it's never independent of the foundation. Yeah. They come back and just say hey to their friends, to their club, their family, their adopted sort of community. So those moments where they come back are affirming beyond the data that I'm collecting that we're connecting, we're healing, we're honoring.
Yeah, no, that's I've been there to your club and have had the pleasure of meeting your community and seeing your event, and it's just nothing short of impressive. And you're a tremendous fundraiser as well. You just got a nose for the objective, and I'm super proud of what you're accomplishing up there. And I know you're changing lives. So. So tell us, what's this? The survey that you've been collecting. Here's how it works, right? At the end of the event, the guides, the Purple Heart guides that we have that are leading these activities, ask the heroes, those that we're serving, to do a little survey. Hey, take a little time out here, and here's a link, and yada yada, and do this little survey, which we devised with obviously under the tutelage of Cornell University. And I think my sister Karen helped a little bit with that.
Sure.
She's got a lot of experience in surveys and data and yada yada. And so we ended up shaping this thing, and you approved it and said, yeah, this is good. And you've been helping us with it. And so we have interviewed received data from over 200. I think it's 204 right now. I think we're shooting for 300 total. It might take us another year or so to get there, but. What does the data say? I mean, just roughly speaking, as a scientist, because that's what you are, what is the data indicating?
indicating is the right word, and it's a strong indication. So this isn't some sort of a heavily caveated preliminary thing. Mm-hmm. At an N of 200, an N meaning the number of respondents that we have of 204, I feel pretty confident in preliminarily saying that these data indicate that there are a number of features or facets of these outings that these Purple Heart recipients go on through Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation that serve as protective factors.
Okay.
Protective factors that are the kinds of things that protect an individual from negative ideation, protect an individual from mental health crises, and even protect an individual from suicidal thoughts or even attempting suicide. So how does an individual get there? Well, PTS and a number of the other things that we all know are part of the story of combat for some. But if left unchecked, or if you're not protecting, those things can manifest themselves in some negative behaviors that could be fatal. What the data show, which I'm super excited about, is in almost every identified or in the literature, there's a handful of these protective factors that we should keep an eye on and enhance and create pathways for folks. In almost every one of those, if not every one of those, we see a positive trend for individuals who participate in these events having self-reporting significantly more of the presence of that protective factor than they did before they showed up on our event. So what does that translate to? That means that, like we do in the military, when it's time to go out, on patrol, you would put on a bulletproof vest. We're protecting veterans, combat wounded veterans, from the vagaries of trauma and some of those other sort of related things that end up coming from post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injuries or other things, by giving them these programs, by providing them protective factors. It's more than a pill. It's more than a therapeutic intervention. It's a protective factor, and this is a conveyor belt of those protective factors going to these heroes.
Wow, that's well said. And I'm going to say it. I don't usually try to stay away from, curse words, but I'm going to say this out loud because I can. And so protect your ears if you don't like to hear the S word, because it's coming. You wrote on the top of, and this was just for us, it was Inside Baseball, on a little PowerPoint slide as you were presenting the data, does this shit work? Question mark, meaning does the foundation's, recipe, this honor, connect, heal, does this work? Right? Question mark. And then you presented the data. And so what's the simple answer to that question?
I think it's profound how well it works at providing measurable protective factors for combat wounded veterans who've experienced trauma.
Yeah. And so we're losing in a foundation in its 17 years of existence. We only know of one, and that's even questionable, I guess, but we know of one individual who's taken his life by suicide in 17 years that's joined our program. One. Yet across the country on a daily basis, we're losing between 20 and the number's 22 veterans a day to suicide. Now, I don't know. I don't know what's in the soup there, but losing one veteran's too much. It's just, we've got to do something. And I hope people will take note on the fact that, hey, what's important here? Honor these great Americans, whether they were in combat and got wounded. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. It just happens to be the population that our foundation focuses on, the combat wounded. But that's a very, very tiny percentage of veterans writ large, right? It just is. Not very, very few guys actually earn the Purple Heart and get wounded. It's like less than 1%. So there's all these other veterans out there that serve their country and need more of this. They don't need any more stitches. They don't need any more pills. They need more of this. And this is connecting them with each other, connecting them with the great outdoors, connecting them with communities and people who care, surrounding them with the outdoors, and all of that, all of those layers yield healing, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's where we're at.
All of those layers add healing, and that's true of all kinds of outdoor recreation.
Yes.
Sure. However, the other thing that I think is profoundly important in terms of what these data show is, despite what people think about hunting or firearms being involved in therapeutic treatments for veterans, despite what those assumptions, most of them not well informed, are, these data show that in particular, hunting, because of its comprehensiveness, because of its relationship to who we are as humans from the beginning of time, because it's such a comprehensive approach, it's able to provide so many different types of protective factors instead of just a single one.
Well, you said a long time ago, I think you're actually on film as saying this, and Field and Stream got it, but you were like, ever since, man, was carrying clubs and sitting around a fire talking about, what they went out and killed and are now eating, sharing stories, etc. I mean, it goes back to the time where, essentially, where Cain clubbed Abel, right? I mean, and before that, way before that, actually, when we were just, our knuckles were dragging on the ground. There's something about, being a predator, not just a predator, but the apex predator, like our eyes are set forward in our head for a reason. Our brains got big because we were eating protein, not leaves, right?
Yes.
And so that's that, there's something primal about that.
I think that's right. And I think that's what we've got to convince those that are in the medical field about. So, there's this community of folks doing things, whether it's equine or forest bathing or whatever, and collectively it's outdoor RX, the RX meaning prescription. I think the bottom line is that what I'm super excited about in terms of these data is that we're getting closer to the ability to say, you need to go on a Wounded Warriors in Action trip, and I'm writing you a script for it. Right. Because it's
a dosage.
It's an important intervention and treatment, and it serves as a protective factor.
Well, thanks for what you've done, man. I mean, it's a lot of what your work is a little, beyond the most of what the average human could possibly do in terms of a scientific approach to something that, we all look at as a normal activity, right? But you dig into it, and you're revealing some things that are really, really innovative, and I think are opening a lot of eyes. And I'll just tell you out there, it's not just about going out there and hunting or catching something and killing it and eating it. I mean, that's honest to God, that's probably about, honestly, over the course of the weekend, that's probably a long weekend, like a 4-day event. That's probably like 10% of the time, and the 90% of the rest of the time, what are we doing? We're enjoying nature. We're enjoying each other. There's camaraderie. There's, we're enjoying great meals. So there's all these things going on. Anyway, it's quite incredible. We appreciate what you've done, and we really look forward to ultimately, being able to put a bow on this package of the data and say, hey, this is what it is. And use it to hopefully convince others that need convincing, maybe that can control some resource, and say, hey, we need more of this, and here's some resource, i.e. money, to do more of this. And that's kind of what we're hoping for, right? I mean, that's what I think. Anyway, so I'm gonna. Dixon's been very quiet over there, so I'm gonna ping you, buddy. I gotta say, I wrote down two things on here. I was gonna slide it across the table and show you what I wrote, but I just forgot because I was listening to Keith intently. But I wrote down guitars and guns, and Dixon's very quietly nodding his head, north and south now. So I'll tell you, here's a great story for everybody. I play guitar, but I don't play nearly as well as Dixon does. I mean, Dixon's a phenomenal. You're a phenomenal musician. Especially with the guitar and banjo. You play the banjo as well. And I remember sitting we're in the Airstream now, but before the Airstream was here, we had this 40-foot fifth wheel. And Dixon came up here. When was the first time you were up here? We were deer hunting. When was that? Plus minus.
That was 2007. And it was deer season. So it was
November.
Yep.
Yeah, November of 2007, right? So I had a guitar. I had an Alvarez, which I still have, and had it shoved in the closet Now it's there in Florida. I almost I got a Taylor parlor guitar. I should have brought that up here. But I don't have a guitar with me right now. But anyway, so we're sitting there in 2007. I'm like, dude, I've been trying to get that, that Joe Walsh, Life's Been Good, that acoustic riff that he cranks off, throughout that song, but he opens with it, You know which one I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I go, I said, I can't get it, man. And you go, let me see that. And you grab the guitar. And he didn't do anything. I was watching him, man. I'll never forget this. I'm like watching you, and I'm like, let's see what he's going to do with this. And first off, you didn't do anything. You just had the guitar in your hand, and I could tell you were thinking. And then you just like went right into it, And you just note for note. It was just brilliant, man. So I'd like you to tell us, I know you're quiet about it. But, you love guitars, you love guns, you forgot more about, firearms than most people know. You're a certified NRA instructor. Anybody's got any questions whatsoever about firearms, any ammunition, you're the guy, man. You're the guy. How many guitars do you own?
I think right now it's probably 5, but I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. So why guitar?
Interesting question, because I never started out to play guitar. I started on classical piano lessons at like 8, and took 10 years of classical piano with a pistol screwed in my ear.
Who did that? Your dad or your mom?
Well, just but I guess the point is I had to play, I had to practice, I don't remember, half hour a day or whatever.
Yeah. And you didn't like it.
Well, and I was fairly accomplished at it, but for whatever reason, Christmas of my 8th grade year, my dad, who also played guitar and banjo, just sua sponte and got me a guitar. And because the piano was very regimented, and because guitar was not, I didn't take lessons for guitar. I just started playing it. Mm-hmm. But I used to play that, like 5 hours a day or whatever. It was a release because it wasn't regimented, right. And sort of the rest is sort of history.
Do you read music too if you want, but you not when you play guitar?
No,
but you can read music.
I don't.
Do you know tabs? Do you use the tabs at all?
I don't.
You just play.
Right.
That's awesome. That's just now I've listened to you play, and now how would you define your style of guitar playing? I know he's smiling right now because I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, if somebody said, "Hey, describe how Dixon plays guitar," I'd be like, I'm shaking my head thinking I wouldn't even know how to do that.
I would say I've played a little of everything, obviously, over the years, but my primary focus is on flat picking bluegrass.
Yeah, you like it. That's what that's what I aspire to. Let's put it that way. Well, you're very good at it. You really are. I love listening to you play. It's amazing. Yeah. So if somebody said, "Hey man, you can just you get all these guitars and banjos, you can only keep one of them. The rest of them got to go. What's staying?"
Probably my 1974 Martin D35.
Acoustic.
Yeah.
Do you even own an electric guitar?
I do. I've got a Fender Strat Plus Deluxe, which is a fancy way of saying it's in 1989 they put Fender lace pickups and a maple neck on a Strat, and that's what it is. And as you know, I can remember Keith actually enlightening me on the significance of Adirondack spruce tops. You just, or let's bring this a little closer to home. So, Pete Townshend's 52 Telecasters that he used as his backup guitars on, Who's Next or whatever. That's what he cut relay on, sort of thing. There are certain vintages of guitars that are much sought after. Yeah. And that particular Strat ended up being one that, it was a good vintage.
What year did you say? 74? Did you say? What
The Martin's a 74. The Strat's an 89.
89. Okay, right on. Right. Cool, man.
But if I may,
Yeah.
I mean, I have, I guess, sort of two significant guitar memories where our paths crossed. The first was just prior to me being stationed in Australia, and I came to, you were in Alexandria, Virginia at the time, and I think as the detailer at Army Space.
Oh, yeah.
And I was coming down there to, cross T's and dot I's at Stovall or at, PersCom.
Right.
Prior to being out of the net for a couple of years. And you were looking to pick out a guitar, and you took me to some custom guitar. It was a high-end guitar shop in, I want to say, Old Town.
Yeah, Alex. Yep.
Alexandria. Yeah, sure did. And we went in, and it was only the two of us in the shop, and they had signs up everywhere. No picks.
Yeah, they don't want you dinging up their stuff.
And so they and we looked through a bunch of stuff. We ended up, but after the guy heard me play, with my fingers, he's like, "Yeah, you can go ahead and use a pick."
Right.
But and what's interesting is the guitar we picked out of that was a Graven.
Yes.
And my brother ended up getting a custom made Graven.
I remember that.
After that. That's the first one. The second one is that your Pete Townsend model Gibson that I helped pick out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
SJ200, SJ200, just that there's nothing that sounds like that guitar, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's sort of, to me, it's like having a Schoenauer Mannlicher in your hand, or a
L.C. Smith shotgun.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But the idea is this, right? I'm never going to be able to blame that guitar or say, hey, if I had a better guitar, I'd play better. Yeah, bull. Right. It's the same thing with, my pool cue, my fishing rods, and all the other things that I have, the tools of my trade, if you will. I'm gonna before we go to guns, I wrote down here Gardens of Stone, Gardens of Stone. I think there was a movie like that, but I'm gonna go there because I want people to hear this. I love this story. This is actually, and I would like, you and I haven't talked about this in a long time, but I want to say it because there's some good stuff here. So your dad was also a colonel, and he was in the medical service branch in the Army.
That's correct.
Yeah, Jack.
Yes.
And so Jack passes.
Cornell alum, by the way.
I did not know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was Cornell.
Yes, sir.
A doctor from Cornell.
Yes.
Holy cow! I didn't know that. Well, there you go. So
that's part of our connection.
Okay, well, perfect.
Roger.
Well, there you go. That's a learning experience for me as well. Brilliant. So anyway, I think the time frame is 1999. 98, 99?
97.
97. Okay, 97. Yeah. All right. So 1997, I'm in Colorado Springs. The phone rings. It's you, and you're like, tell me that your dad has passed. And then you ask me if I would, do you the honor of, participating in the activity with the first family. And I was like, deep breath, absolutely. And so, I remember, it's me, you, Derek, your brother, and now, for those that don't know, so Jack, your dad is being buried in Arlington, in Arlington National Cemetery.
Right.
Where where the who's who in the zoo, if you wear a uniform, that's what they call the Gardens of Stone, right?
Correct.
In Arlington. And oh, by the way, the guy in charge of the old guard, the commander of the old guard unit that's going to lay your father to rest with full case on, okay, in a horse-drawn carriage, is a guy that we commanded together with.
Correct way.
And Mike Mann.
Yep.
Exactly. And so all these things are just like the lights are going, I mean, you couldn't have scripted it in any other way. And I had never in my life, I had ever been part of a procession like that. And you told me beforehand, you go, I don't know if it was beforehand or it was disclosed, while there, but when they put the first family up, the government puts the first family up in what I would call quaint quarters. They're not extravagant, but they're adequate and appropriate and clean and nice before that evening, before the individual, the deceased, is being laid to rest. Correct?
Yep.
And I've got my uniform. You've got your uniform. Your brother Derek is not in the military, and he's watching you and me get our stuff ready to go. We're polishing our brass. We're polishing our boots. The kiwi's out, and we had a little brown water going. And so on the credenza is the urn where your father's remains are. And you told me, it's just, I love this story. That's why I sent you that picture the other day. I sent Dixon a picture. I was doing a little antiquing, just happened to come across a little antique shop. I was up here in northern Wisconsin. I went in and I found an old Folgers coffee can. It said an antique Folgers coffee can that said their slogan. Folgers good to the last drop.
It's Maxwell House.
Maxwell House. Yeah. All right, pardon me. Of course. God love you, man. I mean, my whole life you've been correcting me, and I need it. I'm the guy that gets it kind of right most of the time. So anyway, Maxwell House, good to the last drop. And so you told me that, one of your father's, wishes was to be buried, because he had a great sense of humor, right?
Yeah.
To be buried, in a Maxwell House coffee can that said, good to the last drop. True?
True statement.
And he was there while we're doing this.
Yep.
It's 9-10 o'clock at night. We're sharing stories. We're having a little bit of whiskey. And as we're getting our uniform ready, and your brother's over there watching us and just being, quiet and polite and just watching, the two captains go at it. And he goes, this is Derek now. He breaks out of nowhere and he goes, I asked Dad if he lived with regret. And you cocked your head and you looked at him with that look like, okay, I'm waiting for this one. And you go, well, what'd he say? And Derek goes, well, yeah, he said that he did live with regret. And you go, okay, well, then what? And he goes, well, the only thing he said was, it's better to regret the things in life that you've done than the things that you have not. Remember that?
I do.
I quote that not infrequently when it's appropriate, and it strikes me that way. But that's something that I just thought was just absolutely brilliant, And I'm sorry I didn't get to know your dad better. I didn't mean to turn us down that road, but I know you were close to your dad, and I know that anniversary is not long ago, because I remember seeing a picture on Facebook. But that to me was a very, very meaningful part of my life.
Yeah, I'll put a cherry on top of that story. The two important clarifications. So John and I took command of rifle companies within it was like a month to the day of one another or thereabouts.
Yeah, Alaska.
In Alaska, right? And commanded, almost to the day to the same time. And my folks had come up, and you actually met my dad at my relinquishment of command ceremony.
Yep.
And so that's one thing. What I recall of the story is that you came to his funeral of your own accord. I did not ask. And that just to support me, which I sincerely appreciated. And just to fast forward, your dad passed, and I was in Afghanistan and could not return, reciprocate. Yeah. And I regretted that because you had been there for me. I had always intended to be there when your dad passed. But the other thing that was cool about that particular story that you're telling is, so yes, my dad had a 1920s, Maxwell House coffee can. I almost did it myself. Maxwell House coffee can that said "Good to the last drop" on the lid, and we were both, curious. Okay, well, what's this look like? So we took the the lid off the can and look down in there. And of course, there's a bag of ash or whatever. Yeah. And as you say, we had just been getting our uniform accoutrement, ready.
Right.
And I picked up I had an extra dress blue Ranger tab, and I held it in my hand, and you looked at me and said, "Yeah, go for it." And I put that in the can with his ashes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy what you remember, right? I mean, it's funny because, our memories, I mean, this was, 97, you said?
Yep.
Yeah. So, some water's gone under that bridge, but yeah, that's great. Okay. So, I'm going to ask Keith a couple of, just a quick couple of questions here. First off, you've been doing this, stuff with the foundation, like we said, for, quite some time. You're coming up on your 10th year. Do you have a story, a particular thing in your head? I mean, if somebody said, yeah, you can just tell one story, about your activities up there in New York or your travels with the foundation, because like you said, you followed us around. You've been to a lot of activities, man, and you've been to some cool and seen some and done some cool stuff and talked to some great Americans. And it doesn't have to be on your event, but if you just had to, neck it down to one story, one event, one thing that really stands out in your mind regarding, the work that we do, what would you say that is? You got something like that?
Yeah, I do. And apologies to those listening from Seneca Falls. This is not going to be about our awesome event. This is about the event that happens up in Alaska, fishing. Dixon and I went on that thing to check it out.
Yeah.
And I went to not only assist him check it out, but also do some research. And we had a good group of guys there, and two things stand out, both of which are related on that trip. One was, what will happen if you're fishing in Resurrection Bay is that you may run into some marine life. There will likely, you'll see some killer whales or other marine life beyond the halibut and whatever else you're hauling up from the depths. Mm. And I remember standing towards the front of the boat, looking aft, and there were three heroes on my right and one on my left. And these killer whales started jumping out of the water and parallel racing the boat. And the glee and the giggling and the enthusiasm and the, sort of boyish enthusiasm for this miracle was just, it was a priceless moment.
That's cool, man.
And, what was really cool was the killer whales, chased some porpoises around, and the fishing went away. The being in nature and the awe of nature was doing its thing. So there was that. And then the same day, we end up go over to this little back bay where this glacier is calving. Mm-hmm. And chunks of the glacier are floating around, and I look at Dixon and I said to him, "Hey, you know what that looks like?" And he said, "What?" I said, "That looks like the chillers for our brown water later." So we grab a couple chunks of glacier ice.
Yeah.
Put it
300,000-year-old glacier
we put
ice.
it in the cooler. Go back to John's John Moline's place there, and after the dinner, have our single cocktail to celebrate the day's events. And the cubes are popping like Rice Krispies. And we realize that that's air. Those are molecules of prehistoric atmosphere that we're experiencing. And the guys that are on the trip are experiencing it too. And we're all just marveling at what we are in terms of humans. And the insignificance in some ways of the little brief amount of time that we're there, and how lucky we are to go see something like we saw in that bay.
That's cool. I got to tell you, of all the animals on the planet, killer whales are my favorite.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they are, and they are. They say that the killer whales are the T-Rex of modern world today. There's nothing like out there. Of course, they're in the water, but in terms of a predatory animal with a thinking brain that's an effective hunter, a predator. Man, there's just nothing that can touch them. Yeah. And they hunt in packs. I won't go into the graphic details, but have you ever seen them? I saw something on, TV, documentary. I watch them all the time because I'm fascinated by those things. But I watched them go after I actually herd up, a pod or a pack, or I don't know what the technical term is, of narwhal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And, folks that don't know what a narwhal is, it's this big gelatinous blob with a horn like a unicorn sticking out of the top of his head, and I don't know what they're maybe 1,000 pounds or something. I mean, they're big, right? Yeah. Big animals. Well, these killer whales, a pod of them, cordoned them off, okay, and then herded them into this small bay. And there had to be 50 of them in there at least. And then they just had at them. And I was like, whoa, wow, yeah. Daddy. Yeah. That's a serious, animal right there. Yeah.
Well, I think the cool thing was that the heroes on the Foundation trip it was like you were watching an episode, like Top Gun or something. They were yelling enthusiastically, cheering these things as they breached out of the water and splashed. They were lost cool. in the moment. It was so amazing.
It was awesome.
Cool.
Okay, so listen, we've got. I can't believe we just got an hour into this thing, but we're there. Not that I should let time have anything to say about our time here together, but I'm just going to ask you. I'm going to start with Dixon. On any saved rounds or something that's on your chest that you're dying to get off, or anything that in particular that you'd like to mention regarding your time with the foundation. You were the foundation's chief operating officer for quite a while, and I put you on every hard mission we had. I told you, I said, man, there's some stuff going on out there that I don't really understand. I've been on it a couple of times. It's dying for some adult leadership and a second set of eyeballs. I don't know that we want to go into some of that, but really throughout that period of time, the formative years of the foundation, we were groping for the formula for Coke, and you were an instrumental player in shaping that space and getting, a second set of eyeballs, man. I mean, for me, was critical at the time, and you served, as a wonderful, number two guy, a great, you've got a lot of operational experience, more than I do, in the Army, that's for sure. But I want to, publicly thank you for your service. And you continue to do that, you're at every guide school we do. Just wanted to publicly thank you for that. And also, thank you for your friendship. I admire you. My network is now your network and vice versa, pretty much. You're just a great American, and I admire you. I want to thank you for your service and what you've done for me personally. Half the time when I'm talking, I'm not sure if I'm listening to myself or is that something is that a John McDaniel thing or a Dixon Gunther thing? I don't. To me, the lines are completely blurred. But I just wanted to express my complete and sincere thanks to you. For just being one of the most genuine people, and true to thyself and all of that,
Well, you're very welcome, and likewise. I mean, not to turn this into a mutual admiration society, but I appreciate the opportunity. My only alibi fire was you asked early on how did Keith and I link up and or hit it off. That was here. That was because of you, sort of thing. And I can remember sitting on the edge of the field. They had introduced Keith and everybody's sort of doing some butt sniffing and whatnot, and trying to figure out who's who in the zoo. And I, for whatever reason, ended up talking to Keith. And we just sort of hit it off. And from there, in the, subsequent years, just as the stars aligned, ended up being on several events together, not the least of which was MOCAN, not the least of which was the John Moline's initial event there in Alaska. And I think I was on the first Finger Lakes event, as a matter of fact.
You definitely were.
But, so over the years, and that friendship started on this piece of property thanks to you. Right back at you.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, and I wish you and your family, both of your families, you're both family men. You got, beautiful families. Wish both of you, continued success, there as dads, and Keith, I gotta tell you, same, man. You've done a lot for the foundation. You've done a lot for me personally, and I know the work that you've done for and with the heroes. It's nothing short of remarkable, and you're both of you, I think, are genuine and great leaders. And I'm proud to say I know you, and I'll give you a whack there, Keith, at the piñata here before we close this thing. Is there any alibi fires you got? Any saved rounds you wanna fire at this point?
Just gratitude. When I met you and I saw what you were doing, I saw the program, I saw how you were rolling out this thing, and then got the opportunity to come look at it firsthand here and then get involved with these things. I knew myself with my own issues that I believed in your mission and I believed in you. Friendships are important. The histories that we're talking about, that Dixon's talking about, are important, but I think legacies are important too. And you are making an incredible legacy that I hope you're as proud of as I am.
Well, that's great. That's great, man. I appreciate that. I genuinely do. And by the way, over there to your left side is a Fran Better's fishing rod that we broke out last night.
Yeah. Beautiful thing.
Yeah, and you guys are both fly fishermen. I'm a fly fisherman. You actually have been catching trout. You caught one last night. These little Elk River up here. It's just a tiny little thing. But I wish you guys all the luck in the world on your adventure after you leave camp here. I'm going to roll back down to Florida. I've been up here for like 3 weeks, and it's time for me to leave the ticks and the mosquitoes and the deer flies behind for a while. And get back to my family and the regularly scheduled film show. But for all the great people out there listening, I hope you enjoyed today's show. We got two of the finest Americans I know with me in the Airstream here at Camp Hackett, and we appreciate your time and your continued support. Check us out on the web at WWIAF.org and get involved and honor, connect, and heal. Have a great night.
To learn more about the mission of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation and how you can get involved, please visit our website at WWIAF.org or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for listening to the WWIA Podcast and for helping us honor, connect, and heal our combat wounded Purple Heart heroes through the power of the great outdoors.
If you like what you're listening to here and would like to join our team in our mission to bring healing power and recovery to America's Purple Heart heroes, please become part of our Sponsor a Hero team by clicking on the link in the podcast notes or by going to WWIAF.org/sponsor. That's WWIAF.org/sponsor. Our heroes need you now more than ever. Thank you.